TYT is launching a wonderful new show this coming Monday. And the host is going to be J.R. Jackson, who is wonderful on TYT. I have spoken with him. We've had a ton of fun, and I am pleased to welcome him here today to Ring of Fire to talk about what's happening next week, and of course to hit on some of the bigger news stories of this past week. JR, thank you so much for being with me today.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. It's going to be a good time. I remember we did that TYT Friday Power Panel together, and I'm one of those people who overthinks, and I was like, man, I'm still mad that I had that sports talk with Wozniak when Farron told me directly and very clearly, yeah, I'm not going to be in on that NBA talk.
No, don't worry about that at all.
Nature flowing with it, I guess. I don't know. My bad.
No, it was actually really fun to listen to that because I got to learn a lot. It's a sport I don't follow. I've wanted to be honest, I've wanted to get into it, but I get so sucked in with football and then I forget what else happens when other seasons are.
Yeah, because they cross over. No, but the thing is I'm and that's the weird curveball nature of what I may be doing on the show a little bit. Not necessarily curveball, but just like all encompassing. We'll talk about stuff that happens, not the numbers of sports, not the who wins and losses and how the Cowboys look like garbage, but about how these things affect society, every part of it, from politics, news, anything, how it affects society. But it's gonna be video based. Because I'm the video cultivator, if I may, with TYT. So you can't shake your DNA,
Yeah, exactly. Look, and so show is launching Monday the 24th. Is that correct? What time is it going to be on for everybody to tune in here?
So for us, Angelino's out here on the West Coast, bright and early at 9 a.m. It's going to be 12 noon Eastern. Mountain time, you guys figure that out because...
And that really, I got to say, that is an absolutely perfect time of day to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing, I've had conversations with a bunch of other people, and they say, well, I try to just throw my YouTube videos up or whatever as soon as the news breaks. I said, no, listen, you got to pay attention to what everybody else is doing and when their shows are airing, because obviously huge audience overlap with all of these channels. And so that is a perfect time. There's not a whole heck of a lot, right at 9 a.m. Eastern. So that's really, really good spot there.
Noon Eastern.
Noon Eastern. All right, yeah. Well, okay. I guess you got Sam. Sorry, Sam used to host Ring of Fire.
What's happening? But the thing is, I get to kick off our live shows each day. So, whatever stories I choose, I get to kind of pick apart before everyone else gets to it. I get the fresh meat. Everyone else has to deal with the scraps. I love that part.
Yeah, hey, you got to set the pace for the whole day. Put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing here. So that's great. But hey, listen, let's get into some stuff this week because there was an interesting phone call that took place on Monday. You got about 36 of these former Trump officials that are kind of ganging up together and say, we got to stop Donald Trump. And then they have this phone call and the only thing they can figure out is, well, we don't know what to do. So to me, that's kind of funny. These are people that worked with the guy. They obviously have strength in numbers here. And even they can't figure out how to stop this man from becoming president again. I mean, come on. That's about as weak as you can get, isn't it?
I think they're what they've discovered is just the power of what they've built. Because a lot of these folks who are the deflectors from the Republican Party, the never Trumpers, we saw all the names that came through. And many times we've enjoyed the things that they put forward because they've had that inside connection. So yeah, they've generated some energy. And I think they had a bit of a false sense of we've got some momentum and a little bit of power here until they loop back and talk to more of the Republican Party that has what it's become under Trump is just unshakable anger, violence, and absolute loyalty to this guy, no matter what he does, no matter how much of a fool he makes of himself, and therefore of them, it doesn't matter. And I think they forgot how deeply cultish this has become. And they're like, wait a second, we can't come with facts, figures, and actually showing you how badly he's doing, and actually his failures, and convince you guys that we need to change course. It's really weird. You'll drive right off the cliff right behind him. And I think it's surprising them. So they were expecting better, but they got worse. But they were part of cultivating that in the first place. Let's not forget that.
Right. And a lot of it, too, let's not forget, we're not dealing exactly with some of the greatest political strategists that have ever existed. This administration was incredibly incompetent, which actually benefited the American public. Had they been more competent, we could probably be in much worse situation than we are right now. But there was all kinds of internal struggles, even among these individuals now that are trying to derail Trump. So they've got a lot of internal divisions and, past grievances with each other that they also have to overcome. And I do support what they're doing. I think it's a good idea, but, can they even pull it together enough to really try to do a legitimate push with any of this?
I think it's still worth trying. It's worth trying to see how many people maybe, because there's, and I don't know if they're looking for necessarily voting or just within the party to push him out. Because if he does run again, and Cenk and I from the Young Turks have a bet that I don't think he will. Now, that was reading the tea leaves from maybe a few months ago when you started seeing people start to turn on him, or then Ron DeSantis start to emerge and people going, well, let's go a little bit younger. They're trying to slightly nudge, even the people who haven't openly said, yeah, we're against Trump now. They're trying to silently behind the scenes kind of go, well, maybe you don't want to do it. But they also don't want the January 6th committee to come up with the actual results. They don't want the attorney general out in New York to finish her investigation and come up with things on the Trump family. They don't want the full destruction of the Trump brand because they're still using it. They're just hoping the guy whose face it is will kind of leave it alone and let us collect all those crazy MAGA and use them for our own benefit. And he's not the type that's going to let go of his assets.
Well, exactly. And look, we're seeing a lot of that right now, unfortunately, over here where I am in Florida, with that fight with DeSantis. Trump behind closed doors is saying, no, the guy's dull, he's boring, nobody wants him. DeSantis goes out and says, oh, my big regret is I didn't push back against Trump's lockdown, which I don't know where I was during the Trump lockdown, but I sure as hell don't remember that ever happening. So these guys have a bit of a power struggle taking place over here in Florida. And honestly, it looks like DeSantis, to a small degree, might be winning this battle. I mean, look, Ann Coulter's come out. It's gotten so bad. Roger Stone put out a horrendous statement against DeSantis. So, they've got the big guns. Everybody's pulling out what they think are the best people, their best fighters, and it's getting ugly. And if this keeps up, there could be a division even in MAGA world, not just what we see in the regular Republican Party, but another division somewhere down the road here.
When you have this many people fighting, or this many people whose mindset is let's fight. Hey, this is politics. Policy be damned. Let's fight. You've generated foot soldiers, and their one mode and their one thought process, it's laser focused, is we're mad, attack, build up, and potentially violence. So I don't think, I wouldn't have expected it, but it's not too surprising that these factions of people whose mindset is to fight, that they're going to start fighting each other, because there's going to be small differences. And unless you're on this one linear thought process of all loyalty to Trump, and if he says up, you go up, and then if he says down, you go down, and you better not get it twisted or now we're fighting, you have a bit of a volatile party. And again, get your popcorn ready, because Roger Stone's statement was, what did he call him, a fat guy?
With a bad haircut too.
That's
the fat boy college mentality with a bad haircut. I forget the whole thing. It was, I wish I could remember it, because I want to use that now in my segments with Ron DeSantis, because it really was, it's something you wouldn't expect. But you just hit on a good point there too. You mentioned no policy. No policy, because let's be honest, that's what the Republicans are running on in this year's midterms. So, outside of the craziness with Trump, we still have real elections taking place this year. A lot of horrible problems already on the horizon. But one of the biggest things that we're seeing is this arrogance from the Republicans, who know that we don't even have to put forward a policy platform, because we can beat you without running on anything that's real. And that's what they're planning on doing. It's going to be culture war nonsense, and then Democrats suck. That's the message for 2022 for Republicans.
So any conservative or maybe Republican voter that's listening to this will be like, well, Farron, look at you putting your leftist spin on things. How dare you say that they're saying don't run anything? You're just making that up from an article. That's probably the right move, says Brendan Buck. I don't think you need to present yourself as the focus of this election. As the people who are running for office, do not present yourself as the focus of this election. What should we present as the focus of this election? Now, we do know you're supposed to go after your political opponents. Everybody does that. You point out their shortcomings. You point out the things they didn't accomplish. You point out the things that people don't like about them, because there's going to be those things. And then you run on it and you add, this is what I'm going to do. It's not there. It's just not there. And they don't want it to be there. This is by design.
Well, and they look at, Virginia as the example, and that's what they're trying to say. Look, in Virginia, he ran on critical race theory. We're going to keep that out of your schools. And everybody said, oh, well, good. We got to keep it out of the schools. It's a nothing issue that they can't even define. And I love the video. The Good Liars have put out so many short little videos of them actually asking people, what is it? Mm-hmm. And they say, well, I don't know, but I sure don't like it. And that was essentially what happened in Virginia. So we're going to see a big push with that, in this year's midterms. And to circle it back to Florida for a moment, the news came out this week. The Republicans down here actually pushed a bill that's working its way through the chambers that is going to make it illegal to make white people feel uncomfortable when teaching them about racism. It will be illegal for a white person to be uncomfortable in the state of Florida when they're being taught about racism. And this is a real piece of legislation, and we're going to see more things like that this year because it gets the stupid people energized.
Yeah, these are the wars that they're looking to fight. They've convinced enough people that they should be afraid of school boards now. I think another proposal in Florida was to install cameras in public schools and audio equipment on each teacher to make sure that we can hear what these teachers are teaching and what they're saying. These are the platforms, these are the principles and policies that they're running on, which are nothings. And honestly, at least in that case, he presented a bill of what he wanted to do, as bad as it was. That particular state legislator presented that bill. That's what they're focused on. And this is what they've convinced enough people is a problem. Now, the thing is, if this does work out and you've just gotten elected based off of nothing, what are you going to legislate on? Nothing? I mean, because we always talk about not fulfilling promises. If you have no promises, you have nothing to fulfill. And I think that's exactly where they want to be. That sounds like that was a negative thing coming from someone who wants your legislators and your politicians to do something, maybe represent you. But they've made sure they've come full circle. We've convinced all of our followers that nothing is real, fake news. All elections are fake and false unless we win, and then that's going to work out for them next. Then once we win, there's nothing left to expect. We've hit the utopia, except we're still going to have stagnant wages. We're still going to have lack of healthcare. We're still going to have problems with our child care. We're going to have problems with COVID. These are things that are going to continue. And at that point, you're left to be blamed. Democrats are to be blamed now. And if you get in office, you're left to be blamed. You better have a plan. And the plan can't be transgenders in my bathrooms, Mr. Potato Head, immigrants are coming to kill us, caravans. You can't keep doing that when you're in office. And it's going to be a very short-lived victory if they go that direction.
Well, see, that's an interesting point, too. Okay, so let's say Republicans essentially want to sacrifice it all just to retake the House and maybe the Senate by a couple seats this year, okay? So they do that. They run on nothing. They spend the next 2 years launching phony investigations. They've already mentioned things like Hunter Biden's laptop and the Afghanistan withdrawal. So if they do that for 2 years as we prepare for a presidential election, wouldn't logic tell us that that's going to backfire on that? So why spend that on a midterm election when you could turn around and just energize people in 2024 and take back, the House, the White House, everything in one fell swoop? Because I believe in 2024, the Democrats have more Senate seats up than the Republicans, who have, 20 some odd to defend this year. It doesn't make a lot of sense if you're thinking long-term strategy here.
Long-term strategy is the same strategy. That's what's so weird. They're thinking, okay, if we take back the House, Senate in 22, then we can. That's why they brought up the Hunter Biden investigations. They think, hey, our supporters, we've told, should be so upset over normal investigations over people that potentially committed crimes in office that as soon as we get into power, it's what Kevin McCarthy said. Hey, as soon as we get into power, I'm going to start kicking people off of committees, which is complete retaliation based off of nothing. And I'm going to start these investigations into someone who's not in office. And they think that's going to be enough to generate energy and attention for 2 more years into this next presidential election where Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump are going to be fighting each other in the primary. And I don't know how that's going to shake up, but they've told their supporters, and maybe they have enough generate enough energy that they're going to be like, we're still on board with you. You kicked those Democrats out. You've done nothing for 2 years. We got you again for the next 4.
You know, let me add let me add another name though to that Republican primary fight there, DeSantis, Trump, and I think Crenshaw. I think absolutely Dan Crenshaw is positioning himself as a national figure. And to be honest, based on the interaction he had with that 10-year-old little girl this week, I would love to see him on a real debate stage with real angry Republican opponents and watch that man fold. I believe he would fold just like Marco Rubio did, back in 2015, which provided us some of the most hilarious moments of that otherwise depressing Republican primary. But I think Crenshaw's trying to position himself as something bigger than he really is, not just with his videos.
Is he from? Where's he from again?
He's he's Texas. He's that district that is shaped like a C because it's so gerrymandered so that he can even win.
Look, come on, Farron. It's shaped like a C for Crenshaw. Come on, bro. Calm down with these conspiracies, okay? No, so yeah, I actually hadn't even thought about Dan Crenshaw. But yeah, because you know what he pushed back on the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world and the Matt Gaetzes, right? He said they're just politicians that are looking for photo ops and looking for opportunities to promote themselves with no legislative background. He said all that. He said all that about 6 to 8 months after he had that video where he jumped out of an airplane and acted like he was flying down to, who was he taking out? Cancel culture or I don't know who he was taking out. But he did exactly in that video. Please go watch it, anyone who hasn't yet. He did exactly in that video what he's saying these other guys are doing. And by the way, he wasn't lying when he was talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. And I don't know if you include Louis Gohmert and the rest of the bunch, but he wasn't lying. So he's telling truths within the party because man, I didn't think about this. I'm so mad that I didn't think about this. He came up with that. Man, that's a good thought. He's in the running.
He is. And I think part of what makes him a little more scary as a politician is just because he knows when to turn it on and when to turn it off. Mm-hmm. Marjorie Taylor Greene is what she projects. We know that. There is no question. Dan Crenshaw, when he needs to be a little goofy, you know what I'm saying? He can do it and he can pretend, but he can also be the straight-faced voice of reason when he needs to be. Of course, horrible policies all around, but you have to be able, I think, in order to succeed in today's Republican Party, you have to be a little crazy, but it can't be real because then you're too far, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene is never going to be more than this representative. It does not have broad appeal to win a real election. But Crenshaw can energize just enough people here and there with that mentality, bring them back, with the, hey, listen, these guys over here are a little too crazy for me. And then you get the moderates saying, you know what, Mike, I can dig this guy. And that's scary. It's what Ted Cruz always wanted to be, but could never quite pull off. Crenshaw is doing it in a way that I think is getting overlooked.
Crenshaw's got the military background, the veteran stance. He's from Texas. Man, no, you know what? Dan Crenshaw's people, or maybe he came up with this, but whoever came up with it, it's a pretty good angle. You got to find your niche within. This isn't just a Republican conservative thing. If you're getting to a field, you talk about 2015. How many people ran in 2015 for Republicans? 25 or 24?
Yeah.
Crazy. But they all were trying to find their angle. Like, Ben Carson found his angle, and he was leading for like a week, remember, or like 3 days.
That was
because
so weird.
He was the neurosurgeon who was the smart black dude who then was rejecting the stupidity of the Democratic Party. He's not one of those black folks. That was his niche. It caught him the lead for like 3 to 4 days. Crenshaw's finding his angle, and it can last a little longer than a few days. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good.
Well, listen. Well, thank you. But we also, it's not just how bad the Republicans are too. The Democrats are falling apart. We're watching that happen. That's a big part of why Republicans feel like they don't even need to run on a platform. And it is unfortunate because we can point to, and we all know who we're talking about here. We don't even have to say their names. But you got these two people, and they have absolutely put the Democrats in this position. If we had Build Back Better, if we had more stimulus, the extension of the child tax credits, we'd be having a different conversation right now. A completely different conversation. But your Manchin and your Sinemas, they just say, no, we're bucking it in Manchin's case because, okay, follow the money. But Sinema kind of just seems to be like, hey, I want to be spontaneous and fun, and I'm just going to screw things because why not?
She likes to have a little bit of attention. You notice, even when it's negative attention, it's almost like she's thinking, hey, as long as people are talking about me, it's a successful move. Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work out for her because you have to run on something. Again, I was saying this before, the difference in many cases, these are generalizations about voters. But in general, the reason we have this infighting amongst progressives versus the moderates versus the hardcore right Democrats is there's a difference, there's a diversity of opinion within the party and in the process to get there. So you're going to have these little back and forth of battles, but if you take everyone seriously, you're going to find yourself in a good position. So eliminating all policy from the current president and then also not presenting anything if you're from West Virginia and Arizona, how are you getting back in office? What are people voting for you for? The only thing left is to appeal to Republican voters. There were some rallies where people were like, yeah, God bless Kyrsten Sinema. God bless Joe Manchin. I'd vote for him. That's where your voters are going to have to come from now because the Democratic voters have nothing else to do with you. If nothing else, the pressure that didn't really get us far is at least going to lead to maybe pressure as far as how those things are going to pan out in when it comes election time, which I don't know. I don't know when either one of them is up for election, but they both feel pretty comfortable right now.
Right, and I think Manchin's got to, 5 years or so before he's even got to think about it, and Build Back Better will be in history books at that time, if, of course, we're even still allowed to teach history here in the United States because God only knows what's going to happen. Listen, JR, the Watch List is the show. Mm-hmm. It debuts Monday, January 24th, 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern. Where can people watch?
It'll be youtube.com/watchlisttyt. We're going to do it on all the platforms, of course, at TYT Network. We're going to expand to linear programming after we have a couple weeks and get ourselves settled in. But definitely YouTube and also the TYT Network website. You'll catch us out there. And by the way, one last part about this. We're doing the test shows this week. I was making sure to find good news at least once a day. And what is this, Wednesday? I found good news in one of the 3 days. I'm going to work hard, and I promise we're going to speak some good news. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to take things a certain way, maybe a different angle and approach to things that make you smile at least while you cry.
Well, I am looking forward to it. Congratulations on the new show, and thank you very much for joining us here on Ring of Fire.
Thank you very much, Farron. I appreciate it. I love it here.